While many know Thomas Jefferson for his role in creating the U.S. founding documents such as the Declaration of Independence and his time in office as the third U.S. president, people may be less familiar with his role in science. Jefferson was not only fascinated with science, but also created some inventions himself. Today we will be looking at some of the inventions that he kept in Monticello. Although sundials date back to ancient Egypt from the year 1500 BC, Jefferson's spherical dial was considered a novelty. Before Jefferson, there was no evidence of such a design being used in North America, although there were various similar designs used in Europe. The spherical sundial was a wooden sphere that was 10.5 inches in diameter. It was made at Monticello sometime between the August of 1809 and September of 1816. The polygraphs Jefferson kept in Monticello were not the same as the lie detector devices we use today called polygraphs. The polygraphs Jefferson used helped to produce copies of letters and other handwritten documents. While the original document was being written, these devices were used to make identical copies of the document. This could be used to keep records of letters. Jefferson was fascinated by these devices and always kept up to date on the latest versions as new ones came out. As with the spherical sundial and polygraphs, Jefferson was not the first to invent dumbwaiters either. Dumbwaiters were invented in ancient Greece and were improved by Romanians. They were originally used to help lift heavy loads and eventually evolved into elevators. This design was used in France and throughout other parts of Europe at dinner parties. Jefferson was intrigued by these during his visits to France and brought them back to Monticello. He used these at Monticello to bring wine bottles up from the cellars below his dining room, which would then be put on shelves outside the dining room that could be spun around to place their contents within the dining room for guests to see. Food would also be put on these shelves before revealing their contents to the guests. This system had two main purposes. The more innocent purpose was to impress guests. The less innocent one was to hide the reality of slavery from visitors. Although slaves were the ones preparing meals and placing the food and wine on the shelves, this system prevented guests from seeing the unpleasant reality of how their meals were being prepared. While guests would have still known who prepared their food, the dumbwaiters and turning shelves helped them to not think about it. There's a good chance you're familiar with the invention of this device. You may recall being taught the story of Benjamin Franklin's famous experiment with the key and kite during a lightning storm. Jefferson found his friend's research in electricity fascinating and, of course, had to have a lightning rod of his own. With Monticello being on top of a small mountain, lightning created a real hazard. Because of this, Thomas Jefferson had lightning rods, then called Franklin rods, installed on Monticello. A former slave that served Jefferson reported that lightning once struck Monticello. He recalled that Jefferson had told him that if it wasn't for the lightning rods, the entire building would have been destroyed. Although none of the inventions listed in this video were invented by Thomas Jefferson himself, his interest in science helped him to acquire these devices and, in some cases, improve upon them. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to learn more about Thomas Jefferson and the devices he had in Monticello, you may be interested in my video on the macaroni machines he owned. Please also consider liking and subscribing. I'd also be interested in hearing in the comments what invention interested you the most.